The following presentation is brought to you by the Pride of ODU, the official NIL collective of Old Dominion Athletics. Be a monarchist. Join the Pride. Monarch Nation, it is game week finally. Old Dominion football plays football this week against someone else, and we can't wait to talk about it. But first, Aaron, Justice, how are we doing this morning?
Man, I'm doing
It's early.
awesome. I've been up since 6, man. I wouldn't say it was a strenuous workout, but I had to get the juices flowing because it is game week. Got to be excited about this. I mean, we've been on campus all week, soccer, everything's starting up. It is, man, it's time. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely excited for game one against Indiana. We had 5 games yesterday, college football. Some good games, some not so good games. So ready to see some Old Dominion football.
Yes, sir. So let's get into it. Well, let's talk about this team and what we see from last year to this year. First, starting with the offense. Obviously, it starts up front with the O line. We return five offensive linemen with significant playing time in Old Dominion and starts. And we add Ryan Joyce to the equation. This looks like a pretty good group. What are you guys expecting from this offensive line?
Improvement, like over years past, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Obviously, it hasn't dropped yet. It's dropping. Well, by the time people are listening to this, it dropped yesterday. But we sat down, Mike and I sat down with Ryan Jensen. For folks who've been following this program since I, well, the second beginning in 2009, he's kind of on that legendary list of offensive linemen. And he's been pretty in tune with this squad and following these guys, both when he's got a chance to be here from California and on social media and everything. And his level of excitement for not only the returners, and he speaks about them in particular, but some of the young guys that are behind them. So, from an offensive line perspective, that could be a real strength of this team.
It feels like probably the best offensive line, under Ricky Ronnie's tenure anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you have both tackles returning. You add in Ryan Joyce, who has 43 starts in his past, and he's added muscle, and he's in his seventh year, so he's a little bit older, more mature. Then you have Skylar Grant returning from who is probably the hardest worker in this group. I believe Skylar was a walk on at the beginning of his career, and he has just earned everything he's gotten here at this program. And then the right guard spot, we'll see who gets it. I think it's Logan Cox, but I'm not sure. Should be interesting to see who won that job, but I'm very excited for this unit. And the amount of depth we have is just crazy there. Like, you see guys play really well in these scrimmages, like Theo Backelder and Griffin Dugan, and like there's just a lot of dudes on this O line, and it sets up well for this run based offense. I've tried to hit that home since we added this Tennessee offense. It is a run based offense.
Yep. Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, everything keys off the run. Uh, if people are just looking at it from an kind of an uneducated perspective, they're going to think it's the other way around, but that's not the case. In the way they line up, the way they spread out defenses, and I know Mike, you're going to lead us there, but from a running back perspective, the the there's a lot of them, and they're all very capable.
I mean, look at the
well, you just
Tennessee
took us there.
offense.
I think you just took us there, Aaron. So let's talk about it.
All right.
Obviously, we got Devin Roche. He's the leading touch guy from last year on this offense, and probably at all skill positions. I think he's the leading receiver as
Receiver.
well.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot last year, but it kind of shows you what we have returning skill position wise. That Devin Roche, a guy who missed a lot of time last year, is our leading like receiver returning. But out of the backfield, the guy has uber talent, and he's joined by some really talented guys. I'm really excited to see what Mark I can do this year. And Bull Hargrove, man, he just looks like that veteran back you need in the backfield.
I'm really excited to see Markai and Bull both be used
And
in the passing game.
yeah, it's not something we've done much of since probably Blake, right? Last time we really used the running
Yeah,
back position as a catcher.
absolutely.
And we got multiple guys that can do it now. It's not just Devin. I mean, I think it's gonna be a position of extreme strength for us. I think the easy button to push would be that Devin's gonna be that guy. But like we've talked about before, guys, is he's been nicked up in previous years. So until he can show us that he's going to be able to stay on the field consistently, that's always a concern. Fortunately, we got guys behind him that are studs. So, hopefully Devin can stay on the field, but we just don't know what's going to happen. And but I think we're sitting pretty either way.
Yeah, I was mentioning Traquan Jones. He's the JUCO running back. He kind of reminds me of like he's got the same kind of skill set as a Devin Roche. He might not be I don't know how good of a pass blocker he is, but he's lightning fast, uh, smallish guy. Could be a real danger out of the backfield if called upon. The other thing running the ball this year is going to be very different, is because of what's going on the outside with the receivers and tight ends. So we have 3 tight ends we can play this year, and we have a bunch of tall receivers who should be able to block better. All of this points to us being able to run the ball more effectively. And then you add in Colton Joseph, and who's got wheels of his own. This run game should be pretty dynamic this year.
No, I'm excited about it. That's got to be the stir that I don't even remember what the actual thing is.
The straw that stirs the drink.
The straw that stirs the drink. We should be able to run the ball effectively, better than effectively. I mean, some could argue elitely from a number of different ways because you just don't know what to stop. There's so many different options to be able to do that. Running it traditionally between the tackles, quarterback read with Colton. Like you said, you're talking about tight end. Jalen Butler is back, who is an elite blocker. Not even talking about the threat to be able to catch the ball and other guys. So last year, thank God we had Pat Conroy was able to somehow stay healthy and through bubble gum and duct tape and be productive. But this rushing attack, I mean, I think the sky's unlimited. I don't know what you guys would think of what you think that we'll average on the ground per game, but I'm confident it's going to be pretty high.
Last year's running game was elite. We were like top 15 in the country in running the ball. And I think we'll be better this year running the ball.
Better O-line.
Better O-line. You got a more like Mark I last year as a true freshman didn't really play much. But I trust him more than some of the backups we had last year, some of the guys that maybe even started. I liked Darren Young a lot. He was a very good and consistent running back for us last year. But if we're talking about speed compared to like Hargrove, Mark I, and Roche, he'd be the 4th fastest out of those 4 guys.
And we've seen what he can do when he puts a shoulder down to somebody.
All right. But this year, if we want to be a better team, it all starts with the passing game. For us to reach the goals we want to in 2025, we have to become more effective at passing the ball. And that's something we really haven't been able to do the last year, maybe 2 years. We haven't been that great passing the ball. So they bring in a ton of talent from the JUCO ranks this offseason, and they're trying to remake this position. What are your thoughts at the wide receiver position so far?
A lot of talent, a lot of depth. It feels like to me probably the most talent and depth we've had under Coach Ricky Ronnie. I don't know that we have like one guy that's going to stand out and have like 1,000-yard season or anything, but I do feel like we have a lot of guys and they're going to rotate and it'd be heavy rotation and a lot of guys get involved because of the talent we have.
And I want to take a step back. You asked that question, Mike, about being able to throw the ball in the last couple of years. I mean, I think someone could effectively argue that we really haven't been able to do it since David Washington was here, or Blake LaRussa, maybe a little bit. It's been a while. We'll put it that way. From a wide receiver position, we, like you said, Justice, we got a lot of new dudes, a lot bigger than we've been in quite a while, but lots of new faces, lots of young faces and new faces. So who knows? I mean, I was looking at the roster right now online, and out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 wide receivers, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 freshmen, a couple sophomores, and a couple redshirt juniors that are coming in. So we got to see what actually happens on the field. I think the upside is very high, but it's very unknown.
Yeah, especially this time of year, the defense is always kind of ahead of the offense, and you kind of saw that yesterday with some ugly football, especially in Ireland. The defense is always ahead of the offense. Like it's going to take some games for this offense to really click, but the talent is there. You talk about returning guys, TJ Lott, Naeem Gladding, both of those guys should see significant playing time. I believe AR or Naeem should be one of the returners. He's got he's got a very high ceiling, and I don't know if he's come even close to showing ODU fans how good he can be yet.
I'm really excited about Trey Brown the third and Ja'Cory Thomas. Those, like when I've attended, spring and fall media practice, those were the two guys that probably stood out to me the most.
Well, those guys have played some college ball. I mean, at the JUCO level, but they've also won, and that's important. Winning is important. They're going to bring that winning mentality. They've been there. They've done that. It was at a different level, but if you're a winner, you're a winner. So I'm encouraged, and hopefully that will spread in the locker room for some of the younger guys who either haven't played at this level yet or just haven't, kind of experienced, winning championships.
Yeah, and I'll throw in two newcomers for Old Dominion, two other newcomers for Old Dominion, Sydney and Banasor, and Josh Rodriguez.
Sydney's your guy, man.
Yeah, this is not great information, but if you play the new College Football 26, Sydney is a dog. Like he is your go-to guy. It's him and Ja'Cory. Like those are the two best receivers you can throw to. It doesn't mean anything because it's a video game, but he is a very talented receiver, and he's 6'5". Like to have receiver speed and be 6'5" is quite the combination. I don't think we've ever seen a receiver built like him before at Old Dominion. He could become a pretty valuable target for Old Dominion over the years if he continues to develop.
And
Especially
he's
in the
from a
red
cool
zone.
sounding place called Pflugersville. You can't underestimate being from cool sounding places.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, if you're from a city in Texas, I've never heard of, there's a chance that it's not a cool place.
But I bet you football on Friday nights is pretty freaking cool if you're from one of those places.
Yeah, 1,000%. I would think it's a very Friday Night Lights type of city, but I don't know. That's just me making assumptions, which I should not do. Justice, what did you say there? I didn't catch that.
I said he should be a great red zone target with that height, Maybe make up for some, if we lack in the tight end area, maybe he can make up for some of that production, given his height and the mismatch ability he has.
I imagine that is a question he received a lot in the portal. How willing are you to eat a lot this summer and bulk up and become a tight end?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense
All
given
right.
his size.
Quarterback. Yeah. Quarterback position. It all starts here. It's the most important position on the field. I don't think any of us have felt this good about the quarterback position in a long time. Probably since David Washington was our quarterback. And it's not just because of Colton. We seem to have serious depth at this position for the first time in a very long time. Uh, Quinn Henicle, obviously, going to be great in the backup role, needs to continue developing. But for Colton, what do you most want to see out of him this year?
Taking care of the football. That's probably number one. It's not all on him, right? But I think like just being more aware in terms of like, hey, let me get down and slide versus try to get one extra yard, maybe fumble or things like that. But I think if we can take care of the football, I mean, we took care of the football last year. We beat South Carolina, we beat App State, and we're probably having a different conversation in terms of folks' outlook on this team. So I think to me that's priority number one.
And mine would be continuing his development of being able to move through his progressions quickly and making the right choices, not necessarily being super quick to run because he doesn't have to. He's got really good vision and he's got elite speed. So just making sure that he's executing the offense that Coach Decker and Coach Ronnie wants him to do, that will take him to the next level.
Yeah, but I mean, he's such a great off balance thrower. So, one of the stats I saw this offseason that showed me where he really needs to produce is he needs to become a better pocket passer. Because I think he led the country in like off target throws with a clean pocket. That tells me he is rushing and throwing off balance way too often. And I'm hopeful he's got that fixed. And I mean, he's got the skills to take us to new heights. But if he doesn't play better in a clean pocket, then yeah, we're in trouble.
I mean, having a full off season, knowing he's the guy, has got to help, right? Like, last year he was kind of thrust into the spotlight, if you will, and this season none of that stuff should be a surprise for him.
Yeah, and most importantly for his development, this is the only time he has ever entered an off season since he was probably a little kid as a starter. So in high school, he only started one season. So he never had playing time as a junior and then entered the offseason as a starter. I mean, he probably was the signed starter for his senior year, but he didn't have that experience to draw on while he was working towards that senior year. He's got it now, and it's something that I think is going to show on the field this season.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, his position as a starting quarterback this year has never been in question. Well, at least internally. I know we've heard the
Well,
media ask the question. I mean, the media asked the question just as of a couple days ago when we were on campus. I hate to be the guy to kind of snicker at that question being asked by somebody, but it was never. It was Colton's job to lose, and he's certainly not doing that. We say we're excited about Quinn. Don't call me Henicle. Quinn's awesome, and he's got a great future here. And then Ryan Huff behind him. All right, I mean Ryan, he might throw the ball better than anybody else on this roster, but this is clearly Colton's team. And if Colton plays the way that he's capable of, the ceiling of this team is very high.
I mean, what I saw in the fall and spring, at least in the media practices anyway, I felt like Colton showed some growth in terms of his passing acumen. And hopefully, we see that translate here to Indiana in week one.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to this defense. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of turnover on this defense, mainly on the defensive line and in the secondary. But we got to start where it all starts for Old Dominion. Jason Henderson and this linebacking core. It's Seiler's group. It's Seiler's defense. It all starts with the linebackers at Old Dominion. So, how great is it to see four starters return when you only have three in the role?
That's crazy. Instead of calling it the defense, you might as well call it the deep fence because that position is not only really, really good, but it's really deep. And not just those four guys. there's dudes behind them that could be starting on other teams. So we have the potential to be really, really special at that position. God forbid we have an injury. We've got some other guys that are very capable of being able to step in.
Yeah, it's one of the best. It is the best linebacking group in all of the G5, in my opinion. I would say top 5, top 10 in all of college football. But to your point, there's it's not just about the 3, 4 starters, however you want to look at it. It's the depth behind them. But man, like Jason, Jaleel, and Mario, like it's doesn't get much better than that. I mean, those guys are amazing. I look for them all to have a really, really outstanding season.
Yeah, and you got to mention Koa. Obviously, he had a fantastic season last year, and he was voted team captain. Then we got to talk about Jeremy Mack, who is
Yes,
a
number 4.
who's a safety linebacker combo. He can play either spot. He's our leading special teams tackler returning. He was second on the team in special teams tackles last year. His teammates are impressed by him. They all said he balled out the most in camp. In camp. And then I got to mention Keyshawn Thomas. Whenever I see him on the field, the guy is maybe the best athlete we have at linebacker. He's got speed to get around the edge. Could be one of those guys that you put as like either a blitzing linebacker or someone who can go into coverage. But to have that is valuable as depth with injuries. And then we got some young guys here too with Justin Klitsnick, who comes from Jason's hometown and is like he says Jason's his best friend. So he's got a valuable shoulder to lean on. And then is it Jackson Forrest? Is the last guy
Jackson.
we got to
Yep.
mention?
Yeah, yeah.
Aaron, we've been to scrimmages and seen these guys play. How
Those young
often?
guys, man. Yeah, making plays.
Jackson
Yeah,
Forrest to me.
100%. Yep. I mean, that coaching staff trusts those young guys. They're playmakers. That's the future of the program, or the future of that position, at least. The cupboard is not bare behind the names that everybody knows. It's pretty exciting. I mean, Coach Seiler shows that he continues to not only recruit the right guys, but to develop the right guys. And it's just year after year. We're lucky to have him here. Hopefully we have him for a long time, but it's pretty exciting.
One thing that really stood out to me, I guess, this offseason is like the development of Jaleel Cobra's body. Like he's gone from, the dude's jacked. He is jacked. He was talking to Mike and I at at the mega camp, and like I just was like, holy crap! Like he's really transformed. He's worked hard and transformed his body, and he looks like he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah, not a lot of cheat day meals. Although he did tell us what his was. I can't remember what it was, Mike.
It was like basically a double bowl at Chipotle.
That's right, double everything. But you know what? From a cheat day meal perspective, that is still, from an athlete, that's a good cheat meal. That's not like Twinkies and Ho-Hos. That's fueling the body.
As long as
A lot
you're
of
not
protein.
looking at the sodium content. That sodium content at Chipotle is crazy. But yeah, Jaleel, the other thing you got to mention about Jaleel is his maturation. The amount he's matured is clear when you talk to him. And he's kind of become one of those leaders in the background that Ricky and Seiler challenge everyone to become a leader. They want everyone to be a leader, not just the captains. They want everybody to be a leader, and he's taken that seriously this offseason. There's one other guy I want to mention because I was it's kind of a guy that you kind of can overlook, but Ricky talks about him a lot. AJ Ashworth. He said no one outworks that guy. He's definitely going to be a key special teamer this year and someone that is developing for the future. But yeah, I'm just so impressed with this linebacking group.
And that's a lot for the head coach to be talking about a redshirt freshman with those particular accolades.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if we want to get better this year, we're going to have to get better in the pass game. That is where we're deficient last year. We obviously were great against rushing attacks, unless it was a mobile quarterback on third down. But
One
we
of
got to
which
get better.
we'll face this year.
we're going to face a lot of mobile quarterbacks this year. It's just how the game is going. We got to get better against that, but we have to get better against the pass if we want to become the team we want to be. And that starts up front with the defensive line. I really like this group. I think we're deeper than most people realize. And I'm just I don't know. I think we're better. We might be better than defensive line than we were last year. Just because of how many guys we can see come in and make a play.
I think it's better than people expect, right? I think people look at the D line and look at what we lost, and like there's a lot of concern. And like I don't know the concern for me. The concern for me is more of the unknown in terms of we got a lot of guys. I think they're talented. We just really haven't seen it on the field on a consistent basis yet. You look at Chris Trinidad, right? Like it's awesome that to have him back. A big time threat there on the end. But then you look at guys like DeAndre Lynch and Ricardo Williams and Chris Spencer, like those guys, like to me, really in practice anyway, showed that they belong, showed they can play, and now it's just kind of time to see it when the lights come on, so to speak.
We had an interesting conversation with Ricardo Williams when we were able to sit down with him at the facility, and like some of the criticism that we hear about the defensive line is that, or the defense in general, is we don't get enough pressure on the quarterback. At least that's what we hear. Whether it's accurate or not, that's a whole nother conversation of you guys looking at the metrics. But Ricardo shared something really interesting. He's like, look, we're not just trying to hold blocks. We're not just trying to just take space. We're trying to get to the quarterback, pressure the quarterback is definitely part of the scheme. And I think that we probably have to do a little better job of that. One thing we hear Ricky talk about all the time is winning the turnover battle. If you win the turnover battle, you're winning games. So we're able to get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. That tends to result in increased turnovers. So hopefully we can do that a little bit this year, make things easier on everybody. Where the corners aren't having to cover so long. The safeties are able to be a little more aggressive in what they're trying to do. So we'll see how it plays out. But they certainly have the ability to be able to do it.
So, I mean, when you're running a three-man front, you're always going to be outnumbered. So the only way to really generate pressure is you got to have really good blitz packages. Whether that's coming from you got to blitz some corners, you got to blitz some safeties, you got to blitz linebackers to keep the offense off center and have no idea where it's coming from. So it's not all the pressure is not all on the D line. The linebackers and safeties and everyone else that when they get called upon, they need to be effective in the blitz. Because without it, a lot of those guys on the D line are going to be facing double teams, and I don't know who you are. You have to be a freak to win double team battles on your own.
Yeah.
A couple other guys I need to mention because we heard their names a lot this offseason. Javin Gibson and Fred Giles. I think it's Javin that everyone calls Gus. If you call him Javin to the team, they'll be like, who? Oh, Gus. So, yeah, Javin Gibson, Fred Giles, I think both of them off the edge gives us something a little bit different that we didn't have last year. Our ends are kind of big dudes that can win battles by just kind of muscling through people. These guys are speed. I mean, they got speed, and they should bring something a little bit different to the position. And we know they're going to rotate a lot on the D line because they do have the talent there.
Hey, man, you said it best. I got nothing for you there.
All right, and then at D tackle, we have to talk about Cole Daniels. This is a guy, third year in a row, he's returning as like someone who will play significant minutes uh, coming back. Because again, college football these days with the portal, depth is hard to find.
It is.
All right.
I mean, especially right now with the transfer portal, anybody that a team sees that they could step either into their starting lineup or can be that like next line down are being recruited hard. I mean, it's not like the old days where a guy came in and you just expected him to be here for 4 years or 5 years. The teams are constantly looking for guys who maybe haven't gotten as much of a shot as they possibly could. So being able to have that depth where a guy sticks around is super helpful. It could make the difference. I mean, that could be a win or two. Someone goes down and you've got a guy who can step in for a game or two and is trusted by the coaching staff, knows what to do, and can execute um, the strategy effectively. Might be good for another win, maybe two. And that's important.
You talk about the portal and defensive tackles. Like I feel like defensive tackles one of, if not the premium position in the portal. Right, there just aren't a lot of really big, really talented guys, and so they get scooped up quick. But I think like we have some talent at defensive tackle. That's gonna show on the field this year.
All right. The biggest question marks for this defense, I think, are in the secondary. Let's talk about that unit now. Obviously, it's great to have a talent like Botros Alessandro come in. Goes by Boat. He's going to be your number one corner. Who he's joined by remains to be seen, but there's a lot of talent fighting for that second corner spot.
Yeah, I know Ricky had made comments before. Correct me, Mike, if I'm wrong, because you're way better at remembering the details. But talking about how he was one of the most, if not the most talented guy that he had brought in, which
Yeah,
for a position
I believe he said he's the most talented corner we've ever had under him at Old Dominion.
and for a position that's had kind of so much churn of late, it's important, especially if you got a guy who come in and that he's your guy on one side right off the bat. Now we just got to figure out who the other guy is, and you got a couple very capable guys that are battling for it. To me, that's a good problem. That if something happens, not even if something happens, but to be able to give a guy a breather, that you got multiple dudes that can roll in there. It's also nice that Botros is 6'1". I mean, Zion is 6 foot tall. So you got guys that have decent size at the cornerback position. So kind of excited about that position.
Yeah, I mean, I think between Brandon Crutchfield, Zion Frank, and JoJo Haynes, like I feel like those are three very capable options we have at the other cornerback spot, and one of them obviously you can play the nickel corner or slot corner. But I mean, all three of those guys throughout spring and fall camp all had their moments, all made big plays, all looked like a starting cornerback, you know at some point this year, and it's good to have that depth too with those guys. So like cornerback probably like for me is not really a question mark. It might be a question mark in terms of who's going to be the opposite starter, but I feel like the talent and depth is there that like cornerback is not a position that really concerns me.
I will also say that battle for that second spot had to be great for all three of those guys' development. Because I mean,
Absolutely.
they're going to battle every day to get that spot. Um, I don't. I just. it feels like you're creating depth by having that battle.
Yeah, competition is always a good thing. But let me rephrase that. If you have competition and guys enjoy competition, they rise to the occasion and it fuels them, it's a good thing. Sometimes you have guys who don't like competition and they leave. Okay. So maybe that's a good thing if you don't want to compete and you decide some other place. These guys have embraced that competition. And so that's a good thing in the locker room. And ultimately, I think that will be a good thing on the field.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be something that pushes those guys throughout the season that don't win the job because they're going to be. They know how close they are to getting that starting role. So they're going to be pushing hard every day to prove that they were the guy that actually belonged to get the starting job. And having
Yeah.
guys that push you hard in practice, we heard it right from Ryan Jensen. That's what you need.
Yeah. It's all about opportunity. So, like last year, when Grant got hurt and Colton had the opportunity, ultimately he sees that opportunity and it became his job and is his job now. So you've got to be ready when that opportunity presents itself because, if you don't, someone else likely will.
Yeah, everyone's one play away from being Wally pipped. All right. Let's move on to this the safety position. Another position that saw a lot of turnover. But Ricky Ronnie will remind you that we do have a lot of experienced players returning at this position, namely in Jerome Carter, who played a lot as a freshman. I expect him to have a starting role here, and Mario Easterly, who has played a lot in his time at Old Dominion. Both of those guys look like they're shoo-ins for two of the three spots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mario, kind of playing. I call it a box, more of a box safety, but I think ODU calls it a king safety, which Mario alluded to this fall. But
It's
I think that's a
appropriate.
role that he can thrive in.
It'd be appropriate name for us too, royalty and all.
I also liked when he talked about it. He talked about lining up behind Jason and how cool that is, and experience it to be the guy behind Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's there to kind of if the linebackers miss a tackle, Mario's going to be there to kind of clean things up. And so I think again, like I said, I expect him. We've always seemed to have safeties that they're not necessarily the leading tacklers, but they're always like in the top three, right? And to your point, like you talk about the unknown in this safety room, but like I feel like we rebuild the safety room every single year, and they always produce. And so, I feel like Coach Rebs, like that's just what he does, and this year will be no different.
Hey, speaking of leading tackles, we were having an interesting conversation, the three of us before, about
Oh, we got to talk about
yeah.
Nick Kendrick before we go there. I think.
Okay, my bad. You
Yeah,
got it, man.
we got some other guys we need to mention before we move on to the Jason's record. But I'm glad you mentioned that because it's going to be a great conversation. Nikendry Steiger comes in, talented player. Obviously, he's going to see the field. And then we got to talk about Lucas Struck, JUCO All American, tackle machine. Whether he's playing in the secondary and getting significant playing time, it remains to be seen. But he's going to be a valuable special teams piece. Uh, and something you kind of overlook. You need to make sure you have a good coverage unit, right? Because it limits returns and it puts the defense in a good spot to win.
When on this team, special teams is not an afterthought. It's a
No,
sought after role. I mean, both from the coaches and from the players. I don't know. I mean, Justice, you've been around a lot of practices and stuff recently. Talk about that and guys fighting to be on special teams and coaches looking for to pull those guys onto special teams.
one thing I wanted to add to the safety room real quick before I talk about the special teams, and that's Colin Collier, the transfer from TCU. Like he got on campus in the summer, and he's someone I think like we haven't really I haven't seen anyway, but I think in terms of like we haven't really seen it on the field yet, but I think as he gets more acclimated, he's a great asset for that safety room. But special teams. We talked to Coach Smith at length at the last media practice. Yeah, and he made it known that like there's no one off limits. Um, he can't put them on every single unit, right? Because they need to worry about load management, that sort of thing. But in terms of like having a player that's a starter be on special teams, that's not necessarily like an automatic no. And so yeah, I mean, special teams is a big thing. It's often a unit that folks don't, think about until things go wrong. But, you know, I felt like, I mean, what I've seen from the special teams units, they looked really good. Obviously, from a returner perspective, Devin Roche in the open field is electric, right? Naeem. The other thing, like I found interesting, and I asked Coach Smith about this when I interviewed him during that last practice, was during drills, punt return drills, the quarterbacks are always back there, right? And I asked him, I was like, obviously, like Colton Joseph, Quinn, Ryan, they're not going to be back there returning punts in a real game. But like I asked him about like what the reasoning behind that was, and again, it's all load management. You can't have Devin and Naeem and even maybe Mario Easterly back there returning every single punt, every single practice. And so they use the quarterbacks there to kind of help manage that load, so to speak. And so I don't know. I think special teams is going to be good. I think the kicker battle is exciting. Um, didn't see too much, kicking in terms of field goals, etc. During the practices, at least the portions that I attended. I do believe Phil Steele has Riley Callahan as his number two on the second team for all Sun Belt. So he is a great kicker in the FCS, and then punter. Like I did the very last practice, I did get to see quite a bit of punting between Ian and is it Josh Hamels? I think is his name. He's
That's
a
right.
kicker slash punter. But Josh was back there punting, and both Josh and Ian, man, they were booting some long pumps, getting punts, getting some serious hang time, and so like I don't know, I feel like we have a good competition, if you will, between those two, and whoever doesn't win is going to be good backup. I feel like and we talked about to Coach Smith about kickoffs, right? And I asked him like if you would prefer a touchback, if you could get 100% touchback every time, would you prefer that? And he's like, no, I want it mixed up, right? Like sometimes you want touchbacks, sometimes you want to get that return, and so he wants a good mix. And it felt like to me that's probably like the biggest battle, like in terms of special teams, that's kind of like unknown. It's not in terms of like who's going to be the guy doing the kickoffs. So I'm excited to kind of see what that looks like week one.
Yeah, Riley is your kicker, K1. Like he's the guy there. He's got a big leg. He can hit it from past 50. Punter, I believe it's Ian Brandt has that job. Kickoff, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh somehow slips in there. He's got a strong leg. It'll be interesting to see. Punting, I'm excited about because the one skill that we've seen them do well is coffin corners. And we know how valuable that is. Is you don't want to have a good drive that kind of fizzles out around the 50 and then give it back to them with a lot of field. You want to pin them deep. And I think we have the guys, both whoever we run out there at punter is capable of hitting a coffin corner punt. All right. I think this is a good time. We have a new brief segment to give us a break in the show from Gary. He's going to remain part of the show with his own gambling minute. So
Let's
enjoy that
go.
while we take this quick commercial break.
What's up, Monarch fans? Gary here with a new segment for 2025 called Fade Gary. I give you 3 picks. You decide to tail or fade. We went 3-0 in week 0 if you caught the picks on social media, so it's guaranteed to be just all downhill from here. For week 1, I'm taking the Buffalo Bulls as 18.5-point dogs at Minnesota. If you have a small free bet lying around, this is a great live dog to deploy it on. Gophers had big questions with their O-line, and we'll be starting a redshirt freshman at quarterback. Buffalo is bringing back a ton of production and experience, and they're my pick to win the MAC. The number's too high. I like it all the way to 14.5. Second pick, I'm taking Utah minus 6.5 at UCLA. The Bruins are going to be a disaster this year. This line should be closer to 10, maybe even 14. Utah's defense is going to eat for the first time in a while. We don't have to worry about the status of Cam Rising. Final pick, our week 0 hero, Hawaii heads to Arizona. The Bows are great on the island, but a disaster off of it. Add in that their quarterback was limping for most of the fourth quarter on Saturday, and this could get ugly fast. I want Arizona as 14-point favorites, like it all the way up to 17. Remember to line shop. See you next week, and go Monarchs.
We have a few topics we want to discuss before we get to Indiana. So, first, Jason Henderson, 2-time All-American, elite linebacker, is back. We're all very excited to see Jason back on the field and have his swan song and hopefully lead to a lot of wins this year so he can go out as a champion. However, he's 150 tackles away from breaking the NCAA all-time tackle record held by Troy's Carlton Marshall. The question is the defense going to even be on the field enough for him to get this opportunity to break this?
Hopefully not.
I think he's going to get close. I think he gets close.
Go ahead, Justice.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gets close to the record. I think, like, obviously, like, it's not you can have a plan. Like, I'm sure, like, Coach Ronnie, Coach Seiler, they want him to get the record 100%. Like, but, like, you can't necessarily, like, game that way. I feel like, at least, like, if he gets 120, 130, and folks see it's within reach, then like maybe that adds some juice, adds some momentum to get him there. The one thing I would point out with Carlton Martial is he did that actually playing 5 years. So like I feel like there should be an asterisk there because he played a full 5 seasons or the majority of 5 seasons to get that record, whereas most guys are only going to get 4 years to kind of do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely tougher, Jason. Right? The defense is improved, the offense is improved, and so like we just got done saying a little bit ago, like this is one of the best linebacker groups in all of college football, and so he's got a lot of help.
Yeah, so I think about the 2 years that he racked up the big tackle numbers, 2022 and 2023, right? Our offense was not effective in either year. We talked about it a lot. If when the offense was effective, it was scoring way too fast. So we always lost that time of possession battle. It was always the big discussion. And that discussion kind of changed once this offense kind of found Colton and Quinn at quarterback. Um, so I'm just not even sure the defense is going to be on the field enough this season, and I think that's a good thing because it means sure he's going to be healthier along throughout the season, and we can remain a quality defense and offense all season long. I'm rooting for him. I just hope he has a great senior year without any injuries. That's all I want for Jason.
I
My
mean, hopefully we
argument,
get a Sun Belt championship
Yeah.
game and a bowl game, right? That's two extra games to kind of help get him there.
my argument would be if Jason sets a record, then lots of things have gone wrong, and it's not a good thing. That means that someone in the linebacking room or someone's have gotten injured. It means our offense has not been as efficient in being able to stay on the field. And I think it's negative for Jason's future prospects too, because Jason's been an Iron Man, but he gets nicked up. We see him come out for a couple plays and come back on. Like he's a tough dude. So he's got a chance to play on Sundays. He's an undersized guy, but he's got the accolades and he's got the press. He's got a chance to make one of those rosters. And if he sets that record, that just means that he's just got a lot more wear and tear on his body than's necessary. So I'm hoping he has an awesome season. He can be super productive. He can stay healthy. And he's the man at ODU. He's on that Mount Rushmore with Taylor and that sorts of stuff. But to me, setting that record would not be the best thing that could happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it would be cool if he set the record. It'd be good for Old Dominion. It'd be good press. But it's a tackle record. I don't know. It's not one that you really want to have, I don't think, because it means we were on the field way too long.
Yeah. And if he does set it, hey, let him set it in like the college football playoff. That means he did over a lot more games.
Yeah. All right. Next question I have for you guys is Vegas set the win total at 5.5. Tell me why and why not.
All
For
right.
the
Who
over
wants
and
to go
under.
first? You want to go first? You want me to?
You go
All right.
first, Aaron.
All right. I'll do the why not first, and then I'll do the why. Vegas is saying 5.5, which means let's see that we can't win 6. So the why not would be, hey, we're starting out the season at Indiana, team that a really, well, we could argue how really good they are, but a good team that had a very good season last year. We're going to lose there. We'll come home. We'll win our home game. We go to Tech. We have not beat Tech on the road yet. So that's your second loss. Liberty's been a thorn on our side, our second home game. We could lose that. Then we play Coastal Carolina at home. Ethan Vasco, who was a pain in our ass the last time here as a running mobile quarterback, has been difficult. We beat Marshall one time in the second history of Old Dominion football. And then the next week we play JMU, who we haven't won the last couple number of times. And then we just have a difficult, we still have App State on the schedule. So potentially that's how you get to not winning 6 games. On the other hand, which I think what will actually happen is we'll win our first home game. There's lots of question marks with Virginia Tech. I think that we possibly could shock them there. I think we come home, we get the win against Liberty, we get the win against Coastal. We finally get on the right side of Marshall since our 10-win season on October 18th. This is the year that we actually beat JMU and kind of the resurgence of Old Dominion sports. And then you got the rest of the season where we definitely beat that 5.5. Where I think realistically we're at 7 wins or better this year. That's how we get to that. And that's my more likely of beating Vegas than being under.
I guess I would add to like the why we don't do it, right? Like we play so many one-score games. I think I forget who put it out, but it was some model that basically said we had 9 one-score games. It predicted 9 one-score games once again this year. We've talked about it. That's not accident. I think like that's the way the games are coached, and that causes that to happen a lot of times. But we just don't get over that hump. Like that's kind of always been like a problem for this team is not being able to kind of get over that hump. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen again this year, and that's going to be why we don't go over 5.5 wins. I personally, think we will. To Aaron's point, like this is, in my opinion, the most talented roster that Ricky Ronnie's had in his tenure at Old Dominion. And I feel like if he cannot win with this roster, then like when is that going to happen, right? Like, I feel like it's hard for the group of 5 schools to have this much talent on a team, right, and to hold it together, so to speak. And so, I think like when you do have these opportunities, you have to take care of business and get it done and get those wins. Like my expectations are pretty sky high for the team in terms of like I think we win the Sun Belt East, we make the championship game, and hopefully we win the Sun Belt. But there's a wide range of outcomes possible. We could see things implode, the passing game not improve, and the defense, not be able to stop the run and not be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And we're looking at another season where we don't make a bowl game. Like I feel like there's a wide range of possibilities, but at the end of the day, I think this team is built for success, and will get 7, 8, maybe even 9 wins in 2025.
I like this team a lot. But the one thing you never know in the preseason is how teams bounce back from adversity. And we know with this non conference schedule, they're going to have adversity early. And how they react to that is going to be crucial to how well they play this season. The other important part is injuries. We've seen how that's impacted us in the past. Last year was a great example of it. I think the first few games of the year, arguably, we had the best G5 defense in all of college football. What we did to South Carolina was impressive. They played extremely well against Virginia Tech until the dam kind of broke in the second half when the offense wasn't really doing anything. They were just on the field too often. I think this defense could be just as good, but we finally have an offense that should be able to move the ball and not lead to them being on the field all game long and allow them to continue that great defensive play in conference play. Because that's the one thing we didn't see is we didn't have that great defense in conference play last year. Those key games last year, like the App, JMU, Marshalls, I think we averaged like 37 points per game, and our record in those wasn't good enough. It was the difference between us bowling and not, and how close we were to playing for the conference championship. Again, another thing where if our defense had played better, the offense was there to win those games. So to me, the over looks really good. That's a low number for how talented this team is.
Well, those projections, those guys are just looking backwards. Last year, year before, they don't have a very detailed view of this squad and what they're capable of and who's on it. It's kind of like the stock market where they talk about past performance may not be a predictor of future results or whatever it is. And they probably won't catch up until what, halfway through the season, guys? And really understanding what this team is.
Yep. At least 3
I
or
mean,
4 weeks.
Yeah, Vegas knows us. They're pretty good with they go pretty deep with the analytics. Uh, but it's all about setting a line that influences bets. And what we've done the last 2 years shows that we're capable of playing with anybody, but we need to finish more games. So I understand the 5.5 with how difficult our schedule is. However, there's some things preseason that kind of bother me. Like everyone keeps saying Georgia Southern's ahead of us. I think we're a better team than Georgia Southern. I think we were a better team than Georgia Southern last year. They just had a better schedule or easier schedule than we did.
Yeah, I agree.
If you flip our schedules, our team probably wins 9 games last year. I can't wait. I didn't know if you guys are going to jump in.
I mean, I guess I agree, Mike. I agree.
All right.
Georgia Southern. I was like Georgia Southern is like another team. Like I feel like just can never get over the hump, and like I don't. From a talent perspective, they're not as talented as Old Dominion, 100%. And so, like, that's one team. Like I don't necessarily see like. I guess they just look at the past, and they're looking like, hey, Georgia Southern always gets 8 wins, and maybe that's true. They always get 8 wins, but they don't really do much more than that. They can't get over the proverbial hump, and I don't see this year being any different. So yeah, that's definitely a team like I feel Old Dominion is definitely more talented than and better than.
I think they look at it, they go, it's at Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
Maybe they assume that they're still running the triple option against us, which we were never good. I don't know. Ignore the fact that that team might implode in the second half of games in the last few years. Yeah, it just that's why we play the games, right?
Yeah, the Georgia teams are the two teams that we've kind of had their number the last 2 seasons. We've had Georgia State's number kind of from the beginning, but uh, we need to start getting. We need to get some off the snide against a handful of teams in the East this year. Marshall, obviously, Aaron mentioned it. They've owned us. JMU has won 3 straight against us. Last year was a great game, and we all regret us not finishing that one. But we need to get off the snide against them. Coastal has had our numbers since Blake Watson went off against them.
Except for that one game. Yeah. That was a beautiful game, though. Not a beautiful field, but beautiful game.
That was like the best offensive performance all year for us, I think.
Maybe one of the top 3 in the last 10 years. I don't.
Yeah, that Arkansas State game kind of is up there too now. But yeah, we need to get off the snide against these teams. We got off the snide against App State finally, but we need to keep that edge over these teams this year, and we need to get it over Coastal, Marshall, and JMU this year if we want to see the success we all want. And we also need to avoid going into Monroe and messing up our season.
Damn straight.
Because that's a game. That's a game you're all circling as like we're all kind of penciling in like we're going to win that game. But they play hard nosed defense in a tough stadium to play in. They're going to try to slow us down and make it a defensive slog. So we got to avoid that. That feels like a grenade in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season.
All the more reason why if that running game is effective, the more important it is.
Absolutely. Can't wait for the Thursday night game again, though. Troy, that should be fun.
Oh yeah,
They were a little down last year, but they're such a good program in the Sun Belt. I wouldn't expect them to be down too long. I think they should be a better team this year, and I'm hoping we can blow them out and put on another show for everyone watching at home. But Troy should be better this year than they were last year.
That's our military appreciation game too, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think all kinds of cool stuff is gonna go down that game.
Is it also the game where they're going to do the drone show again, like they did last year on Thursday?
I think so. But CB Wilkins will be working hard to figure out how to technologically bring those down before the attack.
For those not within that joke, understand that CB is not a fan of AI or robots. Our photographer and the awesome baseball host of Hudson Homers, him and Gary should have a new show this week talking about Olympic sports. You might have already seen it, but yeah, he does not like robots.
Maybe we can get the drones to go in the shape of the Monarchist logo. Maybe a
We do
fan of
not.
that.
That'd be cool.
That would be great, but I don't think we have that type of money, Aaron. And
I don't want to spend that type, but like if there might be a smart college student out there that enjoys our show that with a few keystrokes can change the formation, hey man, if it happens, it happens.
yeah, so hacking into the drone show, that would be quite the accomplishment and something to put on your resume if you could pull it off. All right. We've talked about the keys of what we need to do this season. What is your biggest concern heading into this season? Justice, you can kick us off here.
I, I don't know necessarily if I'd call it a concern. Like, I guess I'd really say two things from the actual like team, the player standpoint. The unknown of the defensive line is probably my biggest. I don't really say concern, just like it's just an unknown in terms of like we haven't really seen it on the field from a majority of those guys. I would say from an overall perspective, it's just learning how to win those one score games. Because if that team can do that, they're in for a really special year, I think.
And I wouldn't say mine is a concern, but more of a call to action is once again this year, we start off our schedule with a very difficult prospects. We go on the road twice to two P5 teams. There's a very good chance that we start the season 1-3 or 1-2. My math is not mathing very well this morning. That second home game versus Liberty, I really hope that regardless of whether we're 3-0 or 2-1, maybe we steal one of these games on the road at either Indiana or Virginia Tech, that the fans come out, pack the stadium, and make a shit ton of noise. Like, don't get discouraged if we start 1-2 and say like, oh, we're doing it again this year. As a fan base, we need to get out there and truly make the best home field advantage that we can.
Yeah. Great point, Aaron. We need to support this team. You can't, if the stadium is how it was last year, where a lot of empty seats, even though they were sold, it's kind of hard to blame the team if they don't play that well at home. Well, if they don't have that support, they deserve that support. If you give that support and they still, then we'll deal with that when it comes. But you got to give them that opportunity to be loud and support them. They need it.
And that's a great point, Mike. If whether you're an individual or you're a business, if you have tickets and they're not going to get used, find someone who wants to go. If you don't know anybody, message us. We'll find people to give the tickets to. Don't let them go empty. We'll find an existing Monarch fan or a family. We'll find some sailors who are here away from their families. Like, don't just because they're sold, don't let them be empty seats. Let's get folks out to the games.
Yeah, VetTix is a great option there. It's a very easy option too. You don't even have to think about it, and they'll get those seats filled with great, deserving active duty and veterans are in the area. All right, my biggest concern is passing the ball. When you had this much turnover at the receiver position, it's going to take some time for them to gel, and we need them to be better than they were the last couple of years. And until I know we have the talent at both quarterback and the receiver position to be a very effective passing game. And we have the talent at the tight end position. And we have the O line to block. But until it happens, it hasn't happened. So you can't assume it will. You just think there's an opportunity for it too. So I want to see that this year. But until it does, it's kind of a question mark for me. And it's the biggest one because it helps the defense, it helps the offense. It makes this whole kind of thing come together and elevate this program to that next level we want to be to. So, yeah, we did kind of gloss over the tight end position and the depth there. Last year, we leaned a lot on Pat Conroy because of injuries. This year, we have a couple new guys joining the team, and we have Jalen Butler coming back. Dawson Johnson has looked really good at the position. He's a tall, athletic, big target. And then we have Carl Peterson, who he looks kind of like a jacked wide receiver. He's a little bit shorter for a tight end, but he's a hell of a pass catcher. And he's gonna, if he gets the opportunity, he's gonna make plays.
He's a cool interview too. He's a really interesting guy. If folks who are listening haven't seen it, Mike interviewed Carl earlier. If you just go into the YouTube archives or go onto theprideofodu.com, you can see that interview. His social media is interesting too. He's from Estonia, not exactly a hotbed of American football, but the dude is an interesting guy. He's driven and he's proud and he wants to succeed not only for himself but his family, from where he's from. Don't bet against that guy.
I will add this. I didn't know this at the time, but I've learned since that he's a little bit older. I think he's 24. And that's because before he started playing like football, he had to do his country requires military service of all their young people. So this guy's a military veteran playing football for us. Obviously not an American military veteran, but that's kind of cool to have someone of his with his experience, life experience, joining this team. Probably going to be a very good veteran to help Jalen lead that group. Justice, you were talking about Dawson Johnson.
Yeah, I was just say like what I saw in the spring and fall, like he really impressed me. I think he's someone that I think we see as the year goes on, he gets more and more involved in the offense. I think something I alluded to earlier when we were talking about the running backs and talking about Markai and Contravion in terms of the passing game. I think maybe they can lean on those guys early on while you kind of figure out like how the tight ends are going to, be used in the offense and give those guys some time to kind of get acclimated. So using those running backs as an extension of the passing game, I think will help do that. But I'm really excited about the future for Dawson Johnson.
Yeah, I think we all are. All right. We're going to have to talk about Indiana at some point. So that point should be now.
We could just
this
Google
game,
him.
Yeah, just Google them. They had an amazing year last year, making the college football playoff. They had one of the best run defenses in the country. I think maybe, if not the best. And Signetti, I mean, you can Google him if you want, but the guy wins. Say what you want about their schedule last year. It was very weak for a Big Ten opponent. They played
It was
nine.
what was it, Mike?
Soft. It was soft. They played 9 teams. Oh, they had of their 11 wins, 9 came against teams that did not have a winning record. One of the 2 wins they did have against a winning record was against Nebraska, who went 7-6. So say what you will about 11 wins is impressive no matter what, but that is not the schedule of a college football playoff team. To be fair, so I he's a hell of a coach, though, man. I'm not excited. I'm a little worried about this game because we know with his schedule this year, he's playing a lot of G5 opponents. I believe all 3 of his non-conference games are against G5s. Is that right, Justice?
I believe so, yes.
So this is not a guy that needs to save too much for the next game. I feel like when G5s and FCSs have the opportunity for upsets, it's because the team they're playing is maybe trying to hold some stuff in and save it for conference play or bigger opponents. You don't want to put it all on tape, right? And that can kind of lead to an upset because they're not being taken seriously. And I don't think that's going to happen this week. I feel like Indiana, no play is going to be off limits for them this week. And if they have the opportunity, they're going to call it. So we're going to get their best. I don't know how good they are. I don't know if they're a college football playoff team again, but they're going to be very well coached. And it's going to be tough sledding.
Yeah, you're right, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I
After us,
think
they play Kennesaw State and Indiana State.
That's an FCS. So I mean, there's a reason why he was being asked about his schedule, and then he threw that fit about the SEC.
I do think Indiana's going to take us pretty seriously. I mean, um, I think I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, but I think you just look at like them bringing in Grant Wilson as a backup quarterback tells you how serious they take this game against Old Dominion. I think that's like not, and it's not a slight against Grant. I just think that's part of I feel like the kind of head games that Signetti plays to a certain extent, and I think it shows how serious they take the game. Right? They know Old Dominion's is a talented team, and I think any advantage that they can get they'd look for like a coach would, right? And to your point, Mike, I don't see them holding anything back, so to speak. He wants to get right back to that college football playoff, and if he's going to do that, he's going to have to beat Old Dominion and beat Old Dominion in convincing fashion for that to happen.
Well, here's the question. I don't think there's any doubt that Signetti and his staff are going to take Old Dominion seriously. But the question is can he get complete buy-in from the team to take Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State seriously? Like, you have to be very consistent in your messaging for a long time and really, really get them to buy in. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, because if they're not bought in completely from the very beginning, you could find at halftime where this game's in a dogfight, we could even be up. And sometimes in football, it's hard to just flip the switch, especially if we've been able to run the ball really well, keep their defense on the field a lot. Anything can happen. So I'm going to be interested to see what that looks like. And I think we'll be able to tell, pretty early on whether the team has taken the Monarchs seriously.
I want to make a note about Grant. I don't. He was recruited by Signetti out of high school. Obviously, I think he was probably recruited by Signetti when he was leaving Fordham. Um, there's a relationship there. I don't think it was all about this game. Obviously, he's going to be asked a lot of questions leading into this game to get as much information on this team as he can. But I think he got that opportunity through Grant's hard work and what he's capable of. He's going to serve as a great backup. And he's going to have an opportunity in the future to earn that job.
Yeah.
Because Mendoza, I believe, is another senior. And Grant has 2 seasons left, I believe.
100%. But you know what? I mean, Ricky's a really smart guy. And so Indiana may look at having Grant as a positive or being able to get good insight to what's going on. But at the same time, Ricky and Decker, you got that whole mind game psyop thing going on. A guy knows something, but he knows old stuff. So how do you make something look one way, and you got a guy who's really confident it is what it is, but then it's not? So this is like, I'm curious to see if there's a game of chess here, or if Ricky and Decker just like, we don't care. We're going to do what we do. We're going to do it better, and it doesn't matter.
I will add this. Once Grant lost the job or got injured over the season, we changed the offense considerably. He never operated that new offense. He was hurt. So, I mean, how valuable is that information even going to be? And all the calls are going to change. All the signals are going to change. I just don't know if there's any real value there for that specific purpose. But they're a very good team. They bring in Mendoza
And
from Cal, who had a fantastic season last year. They bring in a really good running back from Maryland. Justice, you're about to add a note in there. What was it?
I was just going to say you articulated it way better than my attempt. Like I said, I wasn't trying to slap Grant. It was more of like, hey, I think this is at least was also a factor. It's probably a factor, but like I think Signetti is a kind of coach that looks for any and all edges he can get.
Yeah, that's fair. The guy is a heck of a football coach. He's a little robotic at the mic, but He's an interesting guy. He is pretty brash. He's the exact opposite of Ricky when it comes to the press. But yeah, I will add this about Grant. I understand why he went there. He's going to have a chance to. He wants to get into coaching. And Big Ten teams, if you just look at the pictures compared to ours, they have a lot more staff than we do. And there's going to be a lot more opportunity for him to go from being a player to a GA than there will be at Old Dominion. So good luck to Grant. Thanks for all you did for Old Dominion. And I hope you lose this week.
Damn straight. I echo that 100%, Mike.
All right. So the spread is 23.5 or opened at 23.5. It has been teased down to 21.5, and now I think it's back up to 22.5 at this moment. We don't know what that closing number is going to be, but it's a big number. I guess what I'm interested to see for us to cover is we got to shorten this game up, kind of like how we did against South Carolina. We got to run the ball well. We got to eat clock up, and we got to limit Indiana's opportunities on offense.
Yeah. Mike, run the ball. I think we need to do it with pace. Like, we're coming to the line. We're keeping the pressure on Indiana. Dictate whether they can sub in or out. Doesn't mean that we have to run the play quickly. We can continue to let that clock run. But if we can be effective in running the ball in that first half, that's everything. You need to get to halftime, like have this game a one-score game either way, but winning the time of possession, which we haven't done a lot in the last couple years. And Ricky could argue whether that's an important thing or not, but in this game, I would argue it's extremely important. Is winning the time of possession and winning the turnover battle.
When I look at Indiana, like the thing that I feel like, I mean, the biggest question mark on that team is the defensive line. They lost a lot. They do return Kamara, but other than, or they don't return a whole lot. They bring in Stephen Daly from Kent State, Hosea Wheeler from Western Kentucky. And so I feel like, that plays into our ability to be able to run the ball, right? We should be able to run the ball on them and kind of control that clock. And so I think that works in our favor.
Yeah, I'm hopeful we can run the ball on this team because it changes how the game can go. But again, they were a very good run defense last year, and Signetti is a hell of a defensive coach. Say whatever you want about him, he can coach damn football. He's done it at every level he's been at. He's a winner, a cocky one, but he's a winner.
Well, something's got to give there, right, guys? I mean, they were really good at stopping the run. We're really good at stopping the ball. So that might be one of the tails of the tape. Whoever is able to impose their will on the other, and that's going to be a tick mark and the keys to the game. Obviously, if they're able to stymie our running game, we're in a lot of trouble. We have to be able to pick up first downs, keep the chains moving, keep the clock going, and keep their defense on the field.
Yeah, I mean, pretty basic concepts here for any chance that we have of either upsetting them or even just covering the spread here. I think it's going to be tough for them to cover just because of the basics of how we're going to attack this game. Uh, I don't know if they're going to have an opportunity to cover unless we have turnovers. Turnovers is going to be the deciding factor here on whether they cover or not. So I don't know if we're going to do picks this year. I don't really like it, especially having not seen this team play a game and play a team who's also very brand new, coming off a great season. It makes this very difficult to make a pick. And yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't mind giving you one.
All right. So first, start with the spread. Do they cover or do they not?
They do not cover. Like they are not 22.5 points better than Old Dominion.
Aaron, what do you got?
I agree.
All right, I'll have to be the opposite end of here and say they will cover. I think
Damn
turnovers.
you, Mike.
I think turnovers will come into effect here. Obviously, we talked about the passing game and how it needs to improve. I believe in Colton and think he's going to be a great quarterback for us this year. But it is going to take some time for him and his receivers to get into a groove. And I think we would need to be. I would have loved to play this game in November or in October. Like later in the season, once we have the passing game and running game kind of just going at full speed, I just don't think it's going to be tough to be there in week 1.
Yeah, we could argue the same thing for Indiana, though.
You could.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could effectively argue it, but Justice and I could make that
I
argument.
mean, they have a new quarterback, right? I mean, so
They do, and new running backs.
Yeah.
As
what
do
are they
we.
returning trenches? Anyone
they
know what they're
returned
returning?
they returned 3 starters on the O line. The defensive
Yeah.
line is where they don't return so much.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely opportunity there for us to keep this close. I didn't expect us to do what we did to South Carolina last year.
And one could argue that if Colton was playing like he played in the second half, which is probably not a good argument because it would have been his first game as a kind of freshman quarterback, that we win that game.
I
Probably
mean,
a really weak argument, though. But
I was we beat ourselves. Like I don't feel South Carolina beat us. We gifted them what 2 touchdowns, I think, right? And then like we were first and goal, and crap the bed, so to speak, through interception in the end zone. And so yeah, I mean we should have won that game, even regardless of whether Colton was the quarterback or not.
Yeah. I don't think there's any debating that. We gave that game away offensively. But we couldn't really do much offensively except for those 2 drives. All
no,
right.
but that's key. That's like key to this week is like when we have opportunities, we have to capitalize. You get in the red zone, you get a turnover, you have a short field, you have field goal opportunity, whatever it is, you have to capitalize on damn near every opportunity to make this work. You can't give anything away. I mean, it has to go almost perfectly to make these sorts of things happen. This team is capable of doing that, but really, really difficult.
Yeah. I think you did make a good point earlier, Aaron, about tempo. Whether we're speeding them up or slowing them down, we have to keep them off balance. And to keep them off balance, you have to move the ball. So I want to be surprised here. I want to be the one saying, hey, congratulations, guys. You guys got this one right. I got it wrong. But someone has to be a little bit of a downer here. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap this show up. All right. Before we do that, Justice Aaron, you say we're going to beat the spread. Are we going to win this game?
Justice, you go first.
I think we win the game 31-28. And I think we win because the defense comes up with a big stop at the end to kind of keep hold Indiana off.
All right.
Okay. I hope you're right.
Ironically, I have the same score. But unlike you, who says the defense is going to come up with a big stop, the defense will come up with a big stop, but it won't be to end the game. It's going to get us the ball back. And we're going to win with a 50-yard field goal by Ethan Sanchez. Monarchs.
That would be a slight miracle if Ethan Sanchez kicks a 50-yard field goal for us.
What? Why is that?
Because he's in Houston, Texas, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, my bad. Riley's my guy. Riley Callahan from 50, baby. Put it on the board. Go Monarchs.
All right. Riley Callahan hits a game winner from 50 yards. Justice has the defense making the big stop to win the game. You don't need to know my number. You know that. Yeah, I'm rooting for Old Dominion. That's all that matters. Speaking of Old Dominion, we're going to have a watch party at Afterglow Brewing this week. We have some amazing prizes we're giving out. thanks to our friend Jerry Canada, he has donated 4 season tickets and that come with 4 beer garden passes. They're in seats, like they're in regular seats, like the nice seats. So these are good tickets. We'll be giving out them as single games. So all game long, we'll be giving out these tickets. There's some other prizes we have in store. I've heard maybe Afterglow is going to have some cool prizes. There's going to be great beer. The Monarch is in cans. You can buy it for your first tailgate. Just come out and enjoy and have a good time with fellow Monarchs, rooting on the Monarchs against the Hoosiers. It's going to be fun. Later this week, me and Aaron will be on the Hoosier Huddle. It's a Indiana podcast. Maybe you'll get some insight on our opponents, better insight than you got from us. Definitely check that out. Thank you so much for listening. Aaron, you got anything else you want to say?
I think the parting gifts would be, like you mentioned earlier, Mike, keep an eye out for Gary and CB's new version of the Monarchist podcast of the Olympic Sports Roundup. And David Asbury, if you're listening, when you write your post-game recap, don't take my end of game predictions too seriously.
And Justice, talk to us about the G5 Hive real quick before we close this out.
Oh, before I do that, I just want to say I'll be covering Ricky Ronnie's press conference on Monday. So I'll bring that video to you guys for the Monarchist, and then I believe maybe a Conference USA conference call with the coaches there on Tuesday. Write a summary of that. But yeah, I mean,
Sunbelt.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
I hope you're not on the big conference call.
Yeah, oh my god.
Nobody left
total,
conference.
total brain fart there. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the Sunbelt call on Tuesday. I'll bring you some. I'll do a write up, a summary of that. Yeah, G5 Hive. We cover all of G5 college football. We just wrapped up our team preview series where we did a deep dive with a representative from every team. So, if you're interested in like our opponents, I would encourage you guys to go over there and kind of watch those videos. There's 68, I think, 67 teams. We just finished that up on Thursday of last week. And then we also did a lot of interviews, including some Old Dominion players. So check that out. And yeah.
I think my last thing, Mike, would be if you've made it this far with us, almost over an hour and a half in. If you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, please smash that subscribe button. Let your Monarch friends know. It's free. So every subscription, every like that you give, throw the comments in there. It helps us out. It gets the word out to more Monarch fans, and it helps us to bring you guys more content. So appreciate everybody, and thank you for doing that.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.